Nils Höglander, a 3-year contract at $3 million. Clearly, this is a bet by the team on Hglander's upside. Had arbitration rights heading into next year. This is a player-friendly contract in the way that A, it's guaranteed money, and B, it takes him right to free agency, right? Like to unrestricted free agency. He's going to be able to, test the market at a relatively young age, kind of like what Jake DeBrusk had when he was 27 years old. Hglander's going to be UFA in 2028. He'll be 27 at that time. So he'll be on the younger side of free agents, just like Jake DeBrusk was. So maybe it's a chance for him to cash in if he obviously performs at a really high level on this contract. But the question I had for you, Harm, is if Hglander scored, let's just say 20, not even 24.
Yeah.
20 even strength goals this year, and then he headed into arbitration. What is his next contract looking like? Because I was looking at it and thinking it was probably in like the $4.5 to $5 million range.
I don't know if he would have crossed into 5 million, sounds high, but it definitely would have been higher than 3 million. And I think that's the scenario that the Canucks are now sheltered from in getting ahead of this and signing the contract now, because you're right. Had he had another 20-goal season, which let's say that was also combined with him eating up more minutes ice time wise and playing a more regular top 6 role, he would have had a really strong arbitration case. I also think for Hglander to be a $3 million player, it doesn't require him to do a whole lot to live up to that deal. Like, all he really needs to do is be a third-line caliber forward, and I'm really confident he can do that. He's already a really strong 5-on-5 play driver, and even if he takes a modest step closer to being, let's say, like a low-end top 6 player, you're already, as the Vancouver Canucks, gaining surplus value on that contract, getting good value out of it. Now, this isn't like a guarantee. There is some downside risk for this. From
he was a healthy scratch in the playoffs last.
Yeah, and also he scored on 20% of his shots last year, right? Like the goal scoring could taper off, especially if his minutes don't go up. He still has to earn Tocchet's trust to play more than 11, 12 minutes a night. But I'm willing to bet on his talent and skill set. I think it's a smart like risk to reward ratio for the Canucks to take here. And I wonder to myself, as far as like upside, could he be a Garland-like player? Now, I don't think Hglander is going to be productive enough on the power play to become a 50-point scorer the way Garland has necessarily, but can he be, let's say, the 40-point version of Connor Garland, which a player like Garland is more valuable than his point totals indicate because he can single-handedly drive a third line.
Yep.
I just see the ingredients of Hoglander's speed, his forechecking, how he controls the puck down low in the offensive zone. And I'm thinking to myself, can he become really close to being a Garland caliber player? And if he's close to a Garland caliber player at $3 million for the next 3 seasons, that would be terrific value.
Cap's going up too, right? Like if the cap's going up, what does a $3 million player look like in 2-3 years, right? And not only that, but again, we're talking about certainty. When you have the OEL buyout starting to really hurt, you have some certainty. And again, it's just better for the Canucks to get this done now, because now that's one less thing for them to worry about when they're mapping out their next few years, especially heading into this offseason as well.
That cost certainty is huge because it'll also affect them at, let's say, the trade deadline. They're looking at non-rental players. Maybe it's a top 4 defenseman that has 2 years left on his deal. It's a lot easier to forecast, okay, can we fit this defenseman's contract in if you have more certainty with, okay, we know exactly what Hglander is going to cost, because next summer the Canucks are going to face a bit of a cap crunch. There's, of course, the uncertainty around Besser's pending UFA status. So now it just helps create a clearer picture so that they can make more informed decisions at the deadline and even going into the offseason, knowing what they can afford to pay Brock and just having to juggle less balls in the air, essentially.
Someone brought it up to me. They said, if Hglander scores 25, touches 30 goals. If Hglander scores 30 goals, you're all of a sudden looking at, okay, it's either Brock or Hglander.
No, he's not. But that's the thing. Like, I'd be shocked.
No, exactly. But if he did, you would be looking at, okay, it's either Brock or Nils Höglander. You can't have both. You can't fit both in. A 30-goal scorer?
Probably not.
You can't, but it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's just something that someone brought up.
That's the other thing is, I think Hoglander's point in like goal total upside isn't like I'd be shocked if there's another big breakout beyond here, and that's related to power play. No.
K-Town Chef has a question for you, Harm. He said, why can't Hglander be more than that? He's only 23, 11th highest scoring player from his draft class. Every other pick but one ahead of him was a first-round pick. That's the other thing. That 2019 draft, the only thing the Canucks have to show for it at this point are Hglander and Archer Shelovs, who was taken in the 6th round. Obviously, Puck Colson obviously gone. But sorry, let's get to that question for you. Every other pick ahead of him but one was a first-round pick.
Well, he's got upside beyond like the 36 points. And that stems from just him playing a lot more at even strength, hopefully. But again, it's you can't be, let's say, a 60 point scorer without getting a decent chunk of points on the power play. And at least for this season, like maybe it can happen 2-3 years down the road towards the end of that contract. I just don't see him getting that opportunity.
Okay. Anything else?
And that's not a knock on him, to be very clear. It's also like he'd have that upside if he was, let's say, on a rebuilding team where a team doesn't have a lot of talented scoring forwards, and now he's thrust into power play 1 or a more prominent power play 2 role. Yeah. The Canucks are just a lot deeper when it comes to top line forward options now. It's not a bad thing for the Canucks to be in the spot where they've got a really talented young forward who we're talking about as, well, he might not crack consistent power play opportunity. That's, again, not a knock on Hglander and his skill set. That's just a reflection of how deep they are at forward right now.
Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.